As you might recall, Vic had taken it upon himself to nominate me for the temporary position of Zoo Ambassador. The ambassador was essentially a glorified production assistant for the film crew that was working on Vic's brainchild, a documentary-style film that was destined for secret and ultra-expensive screenings around the world. Vic had named this ambitious project Bonesaw Vic's Cryptzoological Gardens, the movie. I was chosen for this task for one very specific reason. I was the only member of the caretaker staff who was even remotely suitable for a role in customer service. Everyone else was either a crusty ex-soldier or a rough-looking character from the depths of Victor Bonicelli's underworld empire. To be fair, I wasn't exactly an angel myself. That was one of the reasons why Vic hired me in the first place. But I wasn't a hardened criminal either, not by a long shot. I was just very unlucky on a few occasions, and now I had a record. Of course, a lowly caretaker's assistant would never be allowed to run the show by themselves. Kaz was still recovering from our encounter with Harry, the Sasquatch, so Vic chose Esmeralda to be his replacement. Let me tell you something, folks. I was not looking forward to working with this lady. Esmeralda could best be described as a storm cloud on legs. She was crass, extremely rude, and she displayed an open contempt for anyone who wasn't a cold-blooded killer. Just like Casimir, Esmeralda was an ex-mercenary who had served in the personal armies of dictators and drug lords. She was well over 6 feet tall, and she was a dedicated weightlifter. I honestly don't know if she was taking performance-enhancing drugs or not, but this gal was fucking jacked. Between her towering height and bulging muscles and thinly veiled aggression, she was a very intimidating figure. Long story short, my new partner was dangerous, and she didn't like me at all. Not an ideal situation. Vic claimed that she was actually very fond of me, but this was a straight-up lie. Esmeralda hated my guts. She thought I was a useless dirtbag, just a stereotypical slacker with no inherent worth. She would tolerate my existence whenever we crossed paths at shift change, but that was all. As far as Esmeralda was concerned, I simply wasn't her kind of person. She wasn't exactly wrong with this assessment of my character, especially when I first started working at the zoo. But I'd been through a lot of crazy shit since then, and I mean a lot. It was starting to change me. For the first time in my life, I was actively trying to better myself. I wasn't getting high anymore. I was also making an effort to cut most of the junk out of my diet. I shelled out some decent money for a membership at a health club, and I was working out at least 3 days a week. At this point, it was starting to pay off. I wasn't a combat machine with a body made of iron, but I wasn't soft anymore either. Give some credit where credit's due. Anyway, my new role at the zoo had me at the beck and call of the famous film director Nick McKnight. Nick was charming and personable on the surface, but beneath his deeply tanned veneer of humanity, he was made out of plastic. It's the only way I could describe it. He was a sociopathic Ken doll with a plastic personality and a plastic smile. Beneath the warm twinkle in his eyes, his gaze was flat and dead. Nick McKnight didn't care about anyone except Nick McKnight. As I had predicted, the bullshit started right off the bat. When I ran into Esmeralda in front of the changing rooms, she gave me a surly look and grunted. "Listen up, Pearl Jam. I'm not going to do a damn thing for these people except keep them alive. All the rest of this horse shit is squarely on you, little fella. Don't ask me for any help, because the answer is no." I felt my temperature start to rise, but I held my tongue. I wouldn't let her belligerent attitude get to me. I forced a smile and said, "No one in their right mind would ever want to work with the public, so don't worry about it. I'll do just fine." Esmeralda smirked at my weak attempt at a subtle comeback. "There you go. That's the spirit, my flannel-wearing friend. Oh, shit. Did you hear what happened on the weekend? Our friend across the pond killed one of the tour guides. She got hacked into a zillion pieces." The tour guides ran the more glamorous side of Vic's operation. Their job was to deal directly with the visitors. If the zoo was a restaurant, the tour guides would be front of the house, and the caretakers would be slaving away back in the kitchen. I'd never personally seen any of them before, but according to Casimir, they all looked like fashion models. The unfortunate victim in question was a girl named Sarah. Her landlady called the cops after she heard her tenant screaming in her downstairs apartment. She'd been murdered with one of her own steak knives. The murderer had dipped a finger in her blood and written on the wall, "You will all die." The cops also discovered a second body on the scene. This one was a man, and he'd already been dead for at least a couple of days. The body was in the early stages of decomposition. He was dressed in a black robe, and he was soaked with Sarah's blood. The murder weapon was locked in the grasp of his blotchy, bloated hand. I winced at this image and said, Vic has to do something about this Dawn of Damascus guy. We're all in danger. I mean, I was almost... The word stalled on my tongue, and I promptly shut my mouth. I was about to say that I had almost been killed during my other encounter with the Necromancer's reanimated minions, but no one could know about that. For our safety, that incident had to stay between me and Kaz. Esmeralda poked me in the chest and asked, "You almost what, Billy? Don't leave me hanging." I replied, "Nothing, never mind. Here, just give me a minute to get changed, okay? And then we'll meet up with the film crew." Nick McKnight apparently had a prior obligation that evening, so I'd be dealing with his assistant director instead. Her name was Rachel, and she was absolutely dreadful. I stepped forward to greet her, and she stared at my extended hand like it was covered in shit. She put her hands on her narrow hips and demanded, "What happened to the coffee mugs?" I gave her a blank stare and then turned to Esmeralda. Before I could speak, she pointed at me and sneered, "Don't look over here, Billy Bongwater. My job is to scrape up the mess when the vampire eats someone. It's bound to happen at some point. I mean, look at these people. Someone's gonna die for sure." I made a shushing motion at her, and then I gave Rachel an embarrassed grin. Victor had taken great care to stress the importance of keeping his film crew happy. His exact words were, "Stroke their egos, carry their water, and give them whatever they want. These guys need anything at all. You run over to security, you tell them about it right away. They want a bunch of late-night pizzas and a shitload of garlic bread? Hell yeah, it's on the house. They need more film equipment? Absolutely. A monster truck, the friggin' zebra? I don't care what it is. The answer's yes. Just go tell security and I'll take care of the rest." Victor speared me with a heavy-lidded stare and rumbled, "Billy, we keep these people happy, my movie will be a friggin' masterpiece. But if they ain't happy, maybe it won't be a masterpiece. Maybe it'll just be a piece of shit. I got a load of cheddar riding on this baby. If it turns out no fucking good, I'm gonna lose my shit, capiche? Keep them happy, do what they want. Do it with a smile." With Vic's words echoing in my head, I leaned closer to Esmeralda and whispered, "Please don't say stuff like that and right to their faces, okay? This is not good public relations." Esmeralda whispered back, "I don't give a shit." Rachel's eyes went wide behind her horn-rimmed glasses. I held up my hands and gasped, "Esmeralda might be a bit rough around the edges, but she's a top-notch caretaker. You're in really good hands tonight." Anyway, what were you saying just now? Something about coffee mugs? Rachel let out an exasperated sigh and said, "Yes, the coffee mugs. They were supposed to be waiting for us in Victor's lounge. We were supposed to receive one branded coffee mug each, preferably in a neutral color. How are we supposed to drink our coffee now? This is unacceptable." I stammered. Well, I guess that was, miscommunication on my end. I'll ask security about it, and in the meantime, I can go grab a pack of styrofoam cups from the employee break room. Would that be okay?" In a stiff tone, she responded, "I suppose it'll have to be okay, won't it? I was assured you would be both attentive and professional, but this is neither attentive nor is it professional. Duly noted, Mr. Bongwater. I'll be sure to mention this to Victor in the morning." I was annoyed with being referred to as Bongwater, and I started to correct her, but then I realized white bread isn't really much better. Without context, both names were equally stupid. I gave Esmeralda a bewildered look, and her lips twitched in a smug little grin. She said, "Nah, don't look over here," and wandered away, humming to herself as she pretended to admire the enormous statue of the Hydra that dominated the lobby. Her job was to keep the critters in line, and my job was to suffer this awful lady and her unreasonable demands. Rachel clapped her hands together and said, "Well, let's get on with it. Ashley, can I please see the..." "Yes, thank you." "Can I have everyone's attention? You too, please. Hey, you! I'm talking to you. What's your name again?" Without turning around, Esmeralda said, I can hear you if I'm not looking at you. Sight and hearing work independently from each other. And to answer your question, you can call me either sir or boss. Just like a prison guard, because this place is a prison and our inmates are very fucking dangerous. Do we understand each other? There was an awkward silence as Rachel struggled to think of a reply. She clearly wanted to challenge the hulking caretaker on her choice of words, but she was rightfully afraid to try. Finally, she murmured, Yes, I see. Duly noted, sir. Anyway, hello, people. Listen up. We're working with the leprechaun tonight. Does everyone know what they did? Okay, I see you all nodding your heads, so I'm assuming no one has any questions? No? Good. Okay, then, let's get started. Hesitantly, I waved my hand in the air to get her attention. Rachel glared at me and snapped, Yes, Mr. Bongwater, how can I help you? Sorry to interrupt, but I don't know if this is a great idea. The leprechaun is an early to bed, early to rise kind of guy. He's usually up around 5:30 or so. I don't want to overstep my bounds, but I think you should film somewhere else until he gets out of bed. He's not going to be very happy about having company at this time of night. Rachel snapped. His habits are irrelevant to our schedule. He'll have to suck it up for a night and be cooperative. Faintly, I murmured, Gotcha. Okay, let's go. I already knew this was going to be a massive shit show. These people didn't know what they were about to walk into. But they were certainly going to find out. Dara O'Shaughnessy was several thousand years old. At this stage of his life, he was absolutely unwilling to suffer the company of fools. This would be a reasonable stance, I suppose, except he believed everyone else on the planet was one of the aforementioned fools. He was also a creature of habit with a very structured routine. After a hard day of eating snacks, gloating over his treasure, and dreaming up new insults for the caretakers, he'd sit down at exactly 6 p.m. to get shit-faced on whiskey. He was out like a light by 9:30 every night. I tried once more to explain this to Rachel, but she was barely even listening. I strongly suggested it would be prudent to sweeten his mood with an offering of gold, and I was rudely dismissed. I simply didn't understand her method. She flapped a hand at me and said, Thanks, but no more input from you, Mr. Bongwater. Just open the door. Time's money. Dara's reaction was predictable. The leprechaun came storming out of his earthen mound in a long nightshirt and a matching cap, blinking in confusion at the lights and the cameras. He glared at me and demanded, What's all this? Who are these people, and what are they doing here? I held up my hands and stammered, I'm really sorry about this. Look, these folks are here to film a movie about the zoo. Unfortunately, they have to work at night because it's a secret. But hey, you're going to be in a movie. That's exciting, right? The leprechaun shouted, What in blue hell is a movie? What do they have to do when I'm sleeping off my whiskey? Are you touched in the head? It's not exciting. It's fucking outrageous. That's what it is. I begged him to pipe down and cooperate just for one night. He balled up his hairy little fists and bellowed, No! You can all fuck off out the door. He turned to the crew and yelled, Begone, you filthy dogs! Come back at a decent hour, and next time come with gold in your pockets, and I'll bugger off. Rachel rolled her eyes and motioned at one of the cameramen. He stepped forward and in a painfully condescending tone, he said, Calm down, little man. We have an important job to do, and we're going to get it done one way or another. Don't be difficult. Dara stabbed him with a furious glare, and then he growled, Little man, is it? I'm no man of any kind, you slack-jawed, sheep-shagging half-wit. I'm Dara O'Shaughnessy, of Clan O'Shaughnessy, son of Carmack, and I'm 100% leprechaun. Oh, bloody hell, I'll show you what I am. I'll show you. The leprechaun abruptly cleared the considerable distance between them with a single hop, and he kicked the dude in the shin with tremendous force. The camera operator shrieked in pain and toppled to the floor, clutching his shin with both hands. Dara pointed at the rest of them and screamed, Begone! It's the middle of the night, you shodden fools! Get out! I looked to Esmeralda for help, but she was too busy laughing her ass off. I groaned, Oh, God damn it. I scrambled to restrain the furious leprechaun, who was now advancing on the boom operator in a Victorian boxing stance. I grabbed him in a bear hug and lifted him off his feet, grunting with effort that it took to haul him into the air. Dara was only 3 feet tall in his buckled shoes, but he was incredibly heavy. It was like picking up a bag of grain feed, except the bag was thrashing around with the strength of a python. Dara screeched, Get off me, you mongrel! Then he tried to ram the back of his head into my teeth. His nightcap fell off, revealing an island of pink scalp in a sparse ocean of red hair. He braced his feet against my stomach and pushed with both legs, trying to launch himself out of my arms. I crushed him even tighter against me, and I yelled for everyone to clear out. Dara panted, "Release me, you oaf! I'll give you a terrible hiding, fancy lad! I'll give you all a terrible hiding! Get out! Out!" Esmeralda was still laughing as she herded the crew back into the service tunnel. When the pneumatic locks clunked into place behind them, I dropped Dara onto the floor and jumped backwards, narrowly avoiding a swift punch in the balls. The leprechaun glowered at me from beneath his bushy eyebrows and growled, "Don't you ever get in my road when I'm spoiling for a fight. You're lucky I left my shillelagh inside. I'll crack your skull and release all the hot air." I exhaled heavily and rubbed my temples. I could feel one of my headaches coming on. Great, just wonderful. I sat down on a log and sighed. Look, you don't need to understand what's happening, and you don't need to like it. Vic wants it to happen, and that's all you need to know. He's going to be really fucking mad if you don't cooperate tonight. You gotta let him come in here and do their thing. If you don't, you'll be answering to Vic and his goon squad in the morning. Dara's anger quickly evaporated. He cast a worried look at the entrance door and murmured, "He can be very cruel. That man has no remorse in his heart, none at all. Fine, bring them back in, but I won't apologize for kicking that asshole in the leg. He was asking for it." Once we got the film crew back inside, I approached Esmeralda as meekly as possible. She raised an eyebrow at me and grunted. "What?" I asked quietly. Can I talk to you for a second?" She said, "Nope," and strolled away to the other side of the habitat. I watched her go with a sinking feeling in my gut. Between her and Rachel, it was going to be a very long night. I whispered to myself, "Nah, fuck that," and I followed after her. I looked her in the eye and said, "No, for real, we need to talk for a minute. Come on." I wheeled around and headed for the exit. To my great relief, Esmeralda followed me outside. She folded her arms and barked, "What do you want, Mr. Assertive? I'm listening." I said, "Look, I know you don't like me very much. That's fine. You don't have to like me. But we're going to be partners for a while, right? So let's just, let's be partners. We need to look out for each other. We need to help each other. Partner stuff. You got what I mean?" Esmeralda looked amused. "You're right. I don't like you. But that doesn't mean I won't do my job. I knew the leprechaun wasn't going to hurt anyone. I mean, not like, seriously, hurt them. He's smart enough to understand the consequences. I won't let anyone die here, including you. So, relax." I uttered a morbid chuckle and replied, "I don't think you'll be able to save me from Vic." She snickered. "Relax, you'll be fine. Vic has really mellowed out over the years. He almost always gives people a second chance before he pulls the trigger. If he's in the right mood, he can be a saint. But if he's in the wrong mood, well, just mind yourself, that's all. As long as he sees you as an asset, you've got nothing to worry about." Esmeralda patted me on the head. "You'll be fine, little buckaroo. I promise I'll have your back if shit hits the fan. But that's where it ends, because I don't fucking like you." She paused to look at me as she opened the door. "Remember, there are far worse places than the zoo. And there are far worse people than Vic. Believe me, I've been to some of those places, and I've known some of those people. This is a good job. All you have to do is stay alert, go with the flow. Do your time, don't become monster food, and make your money. Easy peasy, Billy boy." She gave me a light push towards the hall and said, "Go fetch that mouthy bitch her coffee mugs. If she gives me a hard time, I'll knock the taste out of her mouth." All this wonderful image made me smile to myself. I clasped my hands together and pleaded, "Don't do that, okay? I mean, I get it. But please don't. Don't tell me what to do. Go get the fucking coffee mugs, hurry up." I chirped, "I'll be quick as a bunny, and thank you so much for listening. I'm glad that we had a chance to hash this out." Esmeralda curled a lip at me. "Fuck off, dork. Why do you talk like that? You sound like a pussy, I swear. Your voice is like nails on a chalkboard." She stormed into the habitat, leaving me to stand there with a hurt look on my face. I muttered to myself, "Go with the flow," and hurried to the exit at the end of the tunnel. I couldn't leave her alone with the crew for too long. Someone might get hurt, and I'd be the unfortunate soul to take the blame. Zoo ambassador was just a fancy term for scapegoat. If anything went wrong, I'd be on the hook. And that hook Probably be a meat hook suspending from the ceiling of an abandoned warehouse. No thanks. I was going to be the best damn zoo ambassador that Vic could ever hope for. Obtaining the hypothetical coffee mugs turned into another clusterfuck situation. The security goons had no idea what I was talking about. They just shrugged and told me to buzz off. Against my better judgment, I demanded they give Vic a call at home. I didn't want to wake him up, but I had to cover my own ass. Vic was sleepy, irritable, and at least half in the bag. A security guard who made the call said, "We have no idea what he's talking about, boss. Here, I'll put you on speakerphone. You can ask him yourself." He pushed a button, and Vic's slurred voice filled the security office. He growled, "What the fuck is going on over there? Coffee mugs? Ain't got no fucking coffee mugs. What does Broad think she is, in a Sears outlet or something?" I stammered. She seems to think that you're the one who brought it up." Vic snorted. "What? Oh, she's on crack. I didn't say nothing about no coffee mugs. This lady must have been a whack job or something, because I never mentioned nothing but..." Vic trailed off. Slowly, he said, "Hey, you know what? Not a bad idea. A gift shop with branded merchandise. Bonesaw Vicks, t-shirts, hats, calendars, stuffed animals. Yeah, even the friggin' coffee mugs. Damn right, the friggin' coffee mugs. $40 a piece. You can make it so you gotta walk through the gift shop and get back to the lobby. Shake them down one last time before they leave. That's a great friggin' idea. Can't believe I never thought of that before." The security guard said, "Yeah, it's a good one for sure, but what are you gonna do about, current situation? Lady wants her mugs." Vic grunted. "What do you think I'm gonna do? She wants some mugs, we'll get her some mugs. You still there, Billy? Okay, listen up. I'll make a few phone calls, sort this out. There'll be a guy coming to drop them off in, say, an hour or so. They won't have the name of the zoo printed on them, nothing like that, but I'll make sure they're real nice coffee mugs. Good quality. We gotta keep those people happy, right?" I felt relief wash over my body like a cool blue wave. I said, "Yes, sir, absolutely. Thank you, Vic. Sorry for waking you up." He sighed. Don't worry about it. All part of running a business. Hell, just last week I got a call at 6 a.m. about a busted pipe at the dealership. The restroom was completely flooded. Water damage, forget about it. Huge friggin' mess, I'll tell you." A faint voice murmured something in the background. Vic said, yeah, give me a second, gentlemen." There was a rustling sound, and he cupped his hand over the phone. We could hear Vic's muffled voice call out, "Yeah, I'll come back to bed soon, baby." "Nah, it's all good. I ain't got nowhere." He returned his attention to the phone and said, "Anywho, gotta make some calls over here. Tell that Rachel Broad it's all my fault. Tell her I'm sorry. Hope she'll accept these other ones as an apology. Thing is, I know damn well I didn't say nothing about no coffee mugs, but whatever. Don't matter. Hey, I might pop in tomorrow night, see how it's going. I don't know, maybe. I'll catch you later." The line went dead. The security goon punched another button to end the call. He jabbed a finger at me and sneered. "Don't forget to come back here and grab him. Don't lose track of time." I held my tongue and nodded in agreement. The various thugs Vic employed as his security team all had something in common. They all hated me. Every single one of them wanted to punch my face into oblivion. Normally I tried to interact with them as infrequently as possible, but my new role as zoo ambassador was making it very difficult. When I got back, Darrow was dressed in his finest clothes, and he was regaling the film crew with probably fabricated tales from his youth. Unlike most of the inhabitants of the zoo, the leprechaun was a natural performer. He had a dark sense of humor, and he was prone to telling outrageous stories. As I entered the habitat, Darrow was shouting, "Of course you all know what happened next. The daft sod took a horrible beating. I swear upon me dear sainted mother, he was one massive bruise from head to toe. I threw up my hands and cried, 'Look at the state of you! That's what you get for squaring up to an ogre, you damn fool!' And the poor lad, he just falls down. He moans, 'Oh, he shoved a live weasel up me bum. He's tearing me apart.' And then he died." There was a stir of uneasy muttering amongst the film crew. I heard one of them gasp, "Holy shit." "Aye, 'twas awful," Darrow murmured, and he placed his hat against his chest. "I hope the spirit realm was kind to the silly bastard. Even his donkey was shaken by the brutal nature of his death. But, tragic or not, life must go on for the rest of us, so I brought the poor beast down to the market and I sold it for 20 shillings. After all, whiskey isn't free." Dara interrupted into a gust of maniacal laughter, and then he began to dance a jig. Some of the crew tittered with nervous laughter while the others exchanged uncomfortable looks with each other. Esmeralda was hiding a smile behind her leather gauntlet. I hurried over and announced, "Please don't take him seriously, folks. He's just trying to freak you out. It's a joke." The leprechaun gave me an exaggerated look of surprise. He clasped his hands together excitedly. "Do you think I'd jest about such a horrible thing? A man died right before me, right there on the road to the market. It's no joke, my lad, nay, 'tis a cautionary tale. The moral of the story is never raise your hand to an ogre, or they might force a carnivorous rodent up your arsehole. Words to live by, my son." He cackled at his own wit and bounced into the air, twirling in midair to blast a fart directly in my face. He hovered just long enough to click his heels together, and then he landed in a graceful bow to his audience. This time, there was an explosion of laughter, and the leprechaun soaked it in like a sponge. He looked up at me and chuckled. "And that, my son, is the essence of theater. Why old Bill Shakespeare once came to me for guidance on how to write a proper comedy, I told him, 'Write an awful tragedy, William, and then follow it immediately with a beastly fart.' Ha! Aye, works every time." I mumbled, "That never happened." What did you eat?" My face was burning with embarrassment, and my eyes were watering from the god-awful stench of his flatulence. Everyone was laughing at me, even the completely humorless Rachel, who was snickering behind her hand. I was ready to storm out the door, and it hadn't even been midnight yet. I threw up my hands and said, "Yeah, you got me. Haha, very cool. Look, if anyone needs me, I'll be sitting over there by the exit, okay? Cool, awesome." I started to stomp away, but Rachel snapped her fingers at me and commanded, "Just a second, Mr. Bongwater. What about our coffee mugs?" I willed myself to not lash out, and I gave her a serene smile. "I just spoke to Vic over the phone. He asked me to apologize to you on his behalf. He's been very busy lately, so it just must have slipped his mind. He's making arrangements for some very high-quality mugs to be delivered tonight. They should be here within the hour." She answered my smile with a sour look. She demanded, "How could it have already slipped his mind? We were talking about it outside before security let us in." I felt a nasty jolt of adrenaline slam up my spine. I sputtered, "Wait, you saw Vic? Like, tonight? Before you came in the gate? Not even an hour ago?" She snapped, "Yes, that's what I just said. He was standing in front of the gate when we arrived. I asked him if the crew would receive some Bonesaw Vic merchandise. He said something like, 'Sure, how about a coffee mug?' I mean, he was right here at the zoo, so I don't understand." I waved my hand frantically to shush her. My heart was beating very fast in my chest. I gasped, "Did he come in with you?" Rachel gave me a surly nod. "Yes, we all came in together. Don't ask where he went after that because he disappeared when my back was turned. It was honestly a bit rude." Faintly, I replied, "Okay. Thanks for the clarification. Hey, Esmeralda, could you..." Esmeralda said to Rachel, "Let me borrow this guy for a second, will you? Thanks." She pulled me over to the exit door, and in a low voice she said, "There's no way that was actually Vic." I slowly replied, "Nope, not Vic at all. He was asleep when we called him from the security office. I heard one of his girlfriends in the background. He's probably been at home all night. Definitely not him." She shot an uneasy glance through the window and said, "I have a feeling a certain dickhead from Damascus has something to do with this. Yeah, I bet it's something from the spirit world. Some kind of spirit that could take the appearance of a living person. Any idea?" The leprechaun suddenly popped up between us, making us both jump a little. He chirped in, "Apologies for eavesdropping, but I was getting bored. They're all busy setting up their infernal contraptions and machines." He held a finger in the air in a scholarly fashion and said, "To answer your question, I believe what you're describing is an entity known as a doppelganger. They're very notorious, so they are. There's even an ancient rhyme that goes, something like this. It goes, 'Doppel, bopple, bippity-bee, the evil spirit looks just like me.' Actually, that's a lie. I made that up just now. Do you like it?" Esmeralda muttered, "You better not be shitting us because I'm not in the mood." Dara dropped a sly wink and exclaimed, "Oh, I do love telling tales. It's true, but I'm not lying about the doppelganger. It's truly no laughing matter." Esmeralda sighed. "Well, fuck. There goes an easy shift." Dara giggled. "Aye, my hulking lassie, they're quite a nuisance. Doppelgangers thrive on fear and death. I'd imagine that you can drive it away with your liquid silver. But you'll have to find it first. The doppelganger can take on the appearance of anyone beneath the sun. 'Tis a dangerous game of hide and seek." Rachel called out, "Mr. O'Shaughnessy, we're just about ready for you over here. Is there any chance we can get an interior shot of your house?" The leprechaun yelled back, I have no idea what that means. The film crew exchanged uncertain looks to each other. The boom mic operator said, you know what a picture is, right? Dara snapped, Of course I do. Paintings, drawings, photographs. I'm not a simpleton. What of it? The boom mic guy looked relieved. He replied, okay, good. So we basically just want to take some pictures inside your home so people can see how you live. Dara hollered, Oi, wait a damn minute. Let me wash the supper dishes first. People will think I live like a bloody goblin. He patted us both on the leg and said, Well, I wish you both the best. Off I go to tidy me kitchen. I looked over to Esmeralda and said, okay, so we need to notify security, like, immediately. Do you want to be the one to break the news, or do you... I'll stay here, she interjected, and she gave me a cynical grin. Best way to stay alive in a dangerous situation is to hang back. Let someone else get killed. Good luck, Whitebread. I gave her a sarcastic, thanks. That's very thoughtful, and I unholstered my squirt gun. The service tunnel was empty. It appeared that way, anyhow, and as soon as the pneumatic lock bolt chunked into place behind me, I ran for the exit door. I was cursing every step of the way. Crap, shit, fuck that leprechaun, fuck Esmeralda, fuck Rachel, fuck Victor Bonicelli, the super-duper double fuck that necromancer idiot Don Damascus. Fuck him with a fucking telephone pole. The lobby was large and full of shadows. Every single one of them was hiding a murderous spirit with a stolen face. I hugged the wall and scurried to the security office. The goon behind the desk glared at me with the usual look of disdain and said, The guy just got here a few minutes ago. I just buzzed him in through the gate. Go wait for him in the hallway. I curtly responded, Forget the mugs. There's a doppelganger running around somewhere in the gardens. It came in with the film crew. He grunted, Huh? Doppelganger? The fuck are you talking about? I strived to remain both calm and patient. I replied, It's a hostile spirit. It changes appearance to look like other people. It was disguised as Vic when you let it in with the film crew. He shook his finger at me and snarled, I didn't let in no hostile spirit. Have a look at the security footage. Here, see? Ain't nobody standing there but the Hollywood people. Don't you dare tell Vic I let some kind of angry spirit through the gate, because I didn't. I willed myself not to scream at this enormous scowling dipshit of a human being. I said, well, maybe it doesn't always show up on film. I mean, it's a ghost. Look, I promise you, I'm not bullshitting over here. The assistant director told me she was talking to Vic right before you buzzed him in, but Vic was at home when we called him, fast asleep in his bed, so he obviously wasn't talking to the real Vic. This thing is floating around somewhere out in the gardens. We need to find it. If it's getting into the building... Something caught my eye on one of the monitors on the wall, and I stopped talking. It was a view of the parking lot. There was an unfamiliar van that probably belonged to Vic's delivery man, but that wasn't what caught my attention. There was something on the ground behind the van, poking out from behind the tire. There was a knock at the door. The goon pulled out his pistol and yelled, Who is it? The gruff voice answered, Yeah, I got something for you. The security agent heaved his considerable bulk out of his chair. He called out, Hold on a second, I'm coming. I pointed at the screen and hissed, Whoa, wait. That's part of a leg and a foot. I got him. That's not the... The door abruptly exploded inwards with a tremendous bang. The goon managed to fire one shot, then he was flying across the room. His head put a huge dent in a metal filing cabinet, and he collapsed on the floor in a shower of fluttering papers. A heavy-set guy in a tracksuit was standing there in the doorway. He looked exactly like a mafia associate who just got a call to run an errand in the middle of the night, but the look in his eyes was feral and savage. It was the glare of a rabid dog. The imposter croaked, Special delivery from Don Damascus. And it lunged at me. I had just enough time to pull the trigger. I hit it directly in the eyes with a stream of silver nitrate. The liquid sizzled on impact, and an unearthly shriek tore out from the doppelganger's throat. It staggered backwards, still screaming, then it whirled for the door. I chased after it, but the hallway was empty. It was already gone. I bolted back into the office and knelt down beside the fallen security guard. Come on, man, get up, I panted. Unfortunately, the security goon's days of getting up were officially over. The top of his skull was crushed flat, and blood was leaking everywhere. He was now a citizen of the spirit world. I stabbed it with a shaking finger, and the soft crackle of an open line buzzed out of the speaker. I could faintly hear my voice echoing throughout the building as I said, Esmeralda, can you hear me? It's Billy. Can you grab the phone by the entrance and dial the security office, please? I think the extension is 247, okay? Dial 247, like right away. I hit the intercom button again to disconnect. I stood there for a moment and I murmured, "Ah, fuck. I do sound like a pussy." I waited with mounting anxiety. Finally, a red light began to flash on the phone display. I snatched up the handset and blurted, "Is that you?" Esmeralda snapped, "Of course it is. You just ruined their shot, by the way. Everyone's pissed off." I muttered, "Yeah, well, fuck them. We've all got something way bigger to worry about right now. Doppelgangers inside the building." There was a pause. And then Esmeralda said, "Roger that. Are you still in the security office?" "Yeah. I think it killed Vic's delivery guy out in the parking lot. It took his appearance to get inside. Killed one of the security guards. I managed to hit it with a squirt gun. I got a pretty big reaction, so I guess that's some good news." She muttered, "Yeah, okay, gotcha. This thing is obviously a problem." I snorted, "Oh, this fucker's a problem, all right. I don't know where the other security guy is right now, but there's a good chance he's already dead." Esmeralda stiffly replied, "Look, I can't really say much right now because the assistant director lady just came over and she's standing way the fuck too close to me. Back it up, bitch. I'll break your fucking eye socket." I flinched at the raw violence in Esmeralda's tone. I heard her growl, "Go over there. Don't fucking press me, lady. If I can kick you in the face, you're standing too close. Got it?" She returned her attention to the phone and said, "Anyway, you should probably call Victor again. Let him know what's going on. He'll probably..." What was that? Hold on, Billy. Wait a second. What are you mouthing off about right now, you olive oil looking bitch? What? Are you fucking kidding me? No, dumbass. We aren't talking about the coffee mugs. Fuck your coffee mugs. What are you looking at, camera guy? I'm living your dream right now, cream puff. I'm telling your boss to go fuck herself. How about you go back to... I tried to get her attention, but she had already hung up the phone. I groaned. Fuck. Okay, not good. None of this is good. Now I would have to call Vic again, and he wasn't going to be very happy. I pressed the button that was labeled Vic Home, and I waited. The boss picked up on the fourth ring. He groaned, "The zoo better be on fucking fire right now, or I'm gonna throw you off the roof. I'm trying to sleep over here, for God's sake. What do you want this time? Matching teacups and saucers?" I stammered, "Hey, the delivery guy is dead. One of the security guards is dead too. Possibly both of them. It's Don Damascus again." Vic snarled, "You don't say shit like that over the phone, dumbass. Nobody's ever dead. Not over the phone. You say something like, 'We got a situation over here,' and that's enough. Anyway, that hookah-smoking motherfucker's gonna have some regrets soon, I swear to God. Okay, what happened?" I quickly explained the situation, watching the open doorway like a hawk the entire time. Vic was silent for a moment after I was finished, then he rumbled, "You never leave your partner unattended, Billy. I call it partner abandonment. It's a big fucking no-no. Did you ever read the handbook, kid?" Bet you $5,000 you didn't read it, am I right? Of course I am. You probably tossed it in the fucking trash, never gave it a second thought. I started to protest, but Vic yelled, "Shut up! No fucking excuse here, just results. You should have sent in one of Nikki's production assistants, fetch your coffee mugs. He's got like friggin' 10 of them. They ain't gonna miss one if he buys the farm. Now you're stuck in the office with no backup, and she's stuck in a habitat with no backup. Nobody has any backup. This is how people get hurt, Billy. By not following the rules. Capiche?" Now I have a pretty hard time believing Vic actually gave a shit about anyone else's safety. I mean, this was coming from a guy who stashed a loaded gun in a baby carriage during a police raid. He shoved it directly beneath the baby, who happened to be lying in the carriage when the cops smashed the front door. The baby didn't belong to a stranger either. It was like his niece. This story and 1,000 other crazy stories Vic told me over the course of the past few months. They all made it kind of hard to take his outrage seriously. But at the same time, his scathing tone ignited a smoldering shame in the pit of my stomach. When I answered him, my voice actually quavered a bit. "I'm sorry, Vic. I'm trying my best. I was just trying to keep him happy, just like you told me to, being the zoo ambassador and all." Vic countered, "Apologies don't make nobody safer, you get me? It's right in the fucking handbook, Billy, on page 12. It says, don't apologize, just follow the guidelines, don't tell me no lies. I even made it rhyme, so dipshits like you can remember what it says. But you don't even read the fucking thing, so I guess you wouldn't know, would you?" I quietly said, "No, I guess not." I found myself blinking away a sudden wetness in my eyes. I felt like a small child again, struggling not to cry as Mom tore me to shreds over some small transgression that didn't really matter. My headache was getting worse. Vic sighed. "Anywho, listen up, kid. This is what I'm gonna do over here. I'm gonna send in a few guys from the field crew. They're gonna capture this motherfucker. Some douchebag ghost wants to break into my zoo. Fine, it can stay there. We have plenty of room. And as soon as the field crew gets there and makes contact with you, haul your sorry ass back to the leprechaun's habitat. Go inside, lock the door, stay put until someone gives you the all clear. Got that? I meekly answered, yes, sir, I do. I could feel my face burning from embarrassment. Beneath that, there was shame. Even though I was opposed to Vic as a person, that sniffling child in my heart still wanted his approval. He was a violent oppressor, a generous benefactor, and a gruff father figure, all rolled into one. He was hypnotically charismatic, and also a complete bastard of a human being. There was no wonder why he got on so well with Nick McKnight. Vic rumbled, yeah, I'll make sure you get a new handbook, kiddo, and you make sure you read the fucking thing this time. Okay, I gotta go. Hang in there, kid. Big guns will be there soon. The line went dead, and I hung up the phone with an unsteady hand. I just had to stay alive until the cavalry came running in. No sweat, right? I just keep my wary eye on the door with my trusty squirt gun in hand. All will be well. My eyes wandered back to the monitors, and I studied the feed from the parking lot. Yeah, that was definitely part of a leg and a foot sticking out from behind the van. I could also see a broken cardboard box further in the background. It had been smashed open on the asphalt, as if the guy had thrown it at his attacker before he was pulverized. I started playing around with the controls, and I discovered I could switch the camera views from one angle to another. It wasn't long before I found the other security guard. He'd been pummeled into a horrible mess in the stairwell, the one that led to the boiler room. The sheer savagery of the attack left blood on just about every surface. I'd seen some pretty horrific shit in the few months that I started at the zoo, but this still made my stomach turn. The goon had been reduced to nothing but a twisted, broken torso. His skull was a large splotch of gore that was oozing its way down the staircase. I fiddled around with the cameras until I found the doppelganger. It was standing in front of the door that led to the service tunnels, motionless and menacing. It couldn't go any further because every door and wall surrounding the habitats had been treated with a solution of silver. This was a safety measure to prevent the supernatural inhabitants of the other wing from smashing their way to freedom. Unable to touch the door itself, it was forced to wait for someone else to open it from the other side. I got into the intercom again and said, Esmeralda, can you call Billy again on the security extension? The red light on the display flickered, and I snatched up the phone. I pleaded, tell me you didn't beat anyone up. Please tell me that, okay? She snorted, nah, I'm just fucking with him. They're shooting a scene in the leprechaun's kitchen right now. He's baking a batch of leprechaun tea cakes. Gotta admit, those tea cakes smell pretty good. I wheezed. Awesome, great, good news. And I relaxed a bit. Vic was already mad that I'd broken an important rule in the handbook. He'd be a lot more angry if someone in Nick's film crew got beat the fuck up. She asked what was happening on my end, and I told her the field crew was coming to take care of business. She said, he's got some of those guys coming, does he? They're, a bit different. Different breed altogether. I murmured, yeah, I can imagine. Vic is pretty steamed that I left you alone to come to the security office. He called it partner abandonment and yelled at me. Esmeralda scoffed. Oh, please. Leprechaun isn't dangerous. He's a lonely old fart who grumbles to hear himself talk. He'd never try anything serious, not in a million years. He's got it too good here. He gets gold and jewels tossed at him like candy at a parade. Don't worry about it. You can hit every nail with the same hammer. Context matters. I exclaimed, I know, right? That's what I'm saying, too. He made it like I was going to get us both killed. I think he was madder at me than the fucking necromancer guy. A necromancer kills 3 of his men, and I'm the bad guy for trying to do the stupid little job that he didn't even... A loud buzzer started bleeding in my ears, and a red light flashed on the panel against the wall. There was a cargo van idling at the gate. I told Esmeralda, gotta go, someone's here. And I pushed the button that was labeled Gate Intercom. I said, hello, how can I help you? Are you the personnel from the field crew? A hoarse, whispery voice answered, who's this? You don't sound like one of Victor's knuckle draggers. You sound, a little more delicate, shall we say? I felt my face go red. I cleared my throat and replied, I'm a caretaker's assistant. Security guards aren't here. We have a situation. So I heard, the whispery voice answered. You gonna let us in or what? We have a job to do. I squeaked, right, yeah, sorry about that. And I jabbed the button that read front gate lock release. The gate rolled open and the van surged forward in a spray of gravel. It roared up the long driveway and squealed to a halt in front of the entrance. 4 rough-looking dudes jumped out and headed into the lobby. The doppelganger sensed their approach and immediately fled in the opposite direction, loping away on all 4s like an animal. I heard the field crew come stomping up the hallway, and then they were standing in the door. Their rifles were equipped with a reservoir tank instead of a magazine. I felt a twinge of envy looking at them. Get some serious distance with one of those things. The guys from the film crew were all a bit unsettling in one way or another. The two of them appeared to be twins, and they both had extensive facial tattoos. Another one was missing an eye. Not a huge deal on its own, except the dude wasn't wearing a prosthetic eye or an eye patch. He just had a dark gaping hole beneath his eyebrow. For some reason, I had imagined that they would be wearing uniforms of some kind, but they were dressed more like extras from the movie Deliverance. The dude who only had one eye was clad in a pair of mechanic's coveralls that was covered in grease stains. Both the gentlemen with the face tattoos were sporting dirty jeans and plaid shirts with sleeves torn off. One of them was wearing work boots, the other was rocking a pair of worn-out cowboy boots. All three of them smelled like armpits and diesel exhaust. Their leader was the most off-kilter one of them all. I knew immediately that he was in charge because he threw off a strong aura of calm authority. This was despite the fact that he was wearing sandals, cut-off jean shorts, and a ridiculously loud Hawaiian shirt. He kind of looked like a middle-aged man in a Jimmy Buffett concert, except for his face. It was covered in a startling network of scars. A little bit of disfigurement here and there wasn't out of the ordinary for the sort of people who worked for Vic, but this was pretty extreme. He had a particularly heinous-looking scar that ran down one side of his neck and across the front, forming a deep crease across his larynx before curving back up the other side. His arms and legs were also riddled with long lines and twists of scar tissue. Whatever was happening to this guy, it was both extremely violent and relatively frequent. All in all, a very creepy-looking dude, but the most unsettling thing about him was his eyes. They were light gray, very clear, and completely devoid of emotion. Like the doppelganger's wild, feral glare, this guy's stare was ice-fucking cold. I could imagine him killing an entire family with an axe, then cleaning up in their bathroom so he could go out for a cheeseburger. It looked like he simply did not give a shit about the lives of anyone or anything on this entire planet. He nodded at me, and in a scratchy, papery whisper he said, "Pleased to meet you, Mr. Assistant. Everyone calls me Sever. You know, because of that." He trailed off, tapping the scar on his neck with a finger. I faintly replied, "It's good to meet you too. I'm glad she got here so fast, because I think this one is a little above my pay grade." Sever glanced over at the dead security goon, and he asked, "Who was the last place you saw this thing?" "I was standing outside the tunnel entrance for a while, but it took off when you guys came through the door." I motioned at the bank of monitors and added, "I tried to keep track of it, but it disappeared somehow." Sever revealed a mouthful of gold teeth with a humorless smile. "Spirits only show themselves if they're preoccupied with something. Doesn't matter, because Blinky over here can sniff them out." The one-eyed man pointed at his empty eye socket, and he said with obvious pride, "I can smell them with my brain. They smell like pepper." I was at a loss for words. I mean, seriously, what the fuck? I just nodded along and said, "That's really something. Anyway, now that you guys are here, I'm supposed to get back to the leprechaun habitat." Sever showed me his gold-plated smile again. He drawled, "Yeah, it's probably a good idea to make yourself scarce while we're doing our thing. They never go down without a fight." The strange quartet escorted me to the tunnel entrance. I'm honestly not sure if I felt safer with them or without them. It kind of seemed like I was just swapping one variety of danger for another. As I was opening the door, Sever tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hold up a sec, Rockstar. I hear Esmeralda is working tonight, is she?" I wasn't sure if I should answer that question, but I didn't have the courage to lie to this dude. I said, "Yeah, she's back there right now." He flashed me a gleaming grin, and he asked, "Think you can pass a message along? Tell her Sever wants to know if you ever think about the night in Casablanca. If her vibes are agreeable, let her know. I'll be staying at the River Court Hotel for the next few days. Can you do that for me?" I forced myself to meet his empty gaze, and I answered, "Yes, sir, I will." Sever clapped me on the shoulder and said, "Don't forget." It sounded more like a threat than a reminder. He stepped back and waved me inside. "Scoot your patootie back to that habitat and stay there until I give the all clear. Have yourself a good one." I swung open the door to the leprechaun's habitat, and I was slapped in the brain with a wondrous aroma of baking. Everyone was sitting around and munching on a variety of pastries. Dara was wandering in their midst with a serving tray, offering his supposedly unwanted intruders' second and third helpings. Despite all the blood and mayhem from earlier, I felt my stomach rumble. Didn't care that security's brains were currently oozing down a staircase. I wanted some of that magical baking, and I wanted it immediately. He cried out, "Ah, look who's come back! Do you care for a scone, lad, or would you rather try some nice soda bread, perhaps an apple tart?" I gave him a tired smile and said, "I'll take one of each, Mr. O'Shaughnessy. Thank you." It's the first time I've ever seen him crack a genuine smile. He exclaimed, "Go ahead, take 2 of each. You're so inclined. I made enough to feed a tribe of ogres. Have yourself a mug of tea while you're at it. Or would you prefer a drop or 2 of the Father's good cheer?" The leprechaun's breath smelled like a distillery. I saw the rosy bloom across his nose and cheeks, and I realized he was well on his way to getting shit-faced. Father's good cheer was apparently a euphemism for whiskey. I declined the booze and sat myself on a log, a pile of goodies in my lap and a steaming mug in my hand. Dara's baking wasn't just good, even great. It was fucking magical. They were the best desserts I'd ever had, before or since. I'm not exaggerating when I say that Dara could have opened the most successful chain of bakeries in history. Just, damn, drunken leprechaun could bake. I watched it mill around the room, showering the crew with endless treats and a steady flow of off-color banter. I realized Esmeralda was right. Dara was a lonely old man. He disguised his sadness behind a spiky personality. He wasn't meant to become a scowling, toxic miser. Dara was meant to spread boozy good cheer as his magic lanterns glowed beneath the forest canopy. He was put on this earth to scamper through mossy woodlands, unhindered and unknown by the eyes of humankind. Dara O'Shaughnessy was created to drink whiskey and dance a jig beneath the stars. He was created to be free. I had a sudden flash of insight and understood his greed for accumulating wealth was a side effect of his captivity. Before the zoo, Dara's treasures had been the precious things that he would find in the forest: a chunk of sparkling quartz, a perfect stick, a fragrant bloom. Before the zoo, all these things had been equal to gold in his eyes. He desired these objects not for their material worth, but for their simple beauty and the wonder they stirred in his heart. Victor Bonicelli took it all away from him, and he replaced it with 4 cement walls, thousands of years snatched and stolen by a grinning tyrant, leaving him with nothing but a hoard of treasure only he could see. And this, my friends, is why I was becoming obsessed with bringing it all down, because it was fucked up. It was wrong. Esmeralda strolled over and plopped down beside me. In a low voice, she said, "You have such a miserable expression on your face, it's almost funny. You sad about the passing of those security dumb fucks? Because the world became a better place when those 2 clowns stopped breathing." Victor only hires the worst scumbags for his security team. I think he does it so that he won't care too much if they get themselves killed. Happens all the time. I forced myself to smile a bit and replied, "Nah, it's got nothing to do with that. And I almost got killed too, you know. If I was a second slower with the water pistol, I'd be a splotch on the wall right now. And that thing's no joke. I don't know, it's nothing. I'm fine." "Oh, hey, so one of the guys from the field crew asked me to pass a message along. You were right, by the way, those guys are a bit different." Esmeralda narrowed her eyes. She said, "Let me guess, it was a guy in a Hawaiian shirt, right? Shorts, probably sandals, beefy looking, blank stare." I shuddered a bit and grunted, "Yeah, that's him all right." Said his name was Sever, as in like, he almost got his friggin' head cut off. Really gnarly scar on his neck. Just a creepy dude all over. Something about him screams war criminal, you know what I mean? That's my ex. Esmeralda sighed. "We were going to get married, but work took him to a different continent. You know how it goes. Eventually, it just sort of fizzled out. Long-distance relationships are hard." I blinked at her in disbelief. I croaked, "What? You can't be serious. That fucking guy? He's probably got a necklace of human teeth at home. You guys were engaged? That's wild." She shrugged and said, "I like emotionally unavailable men. Sue me. The more unstable and dangerous they are, the better. I can never see myself with some dork who eats corn pops in his jammies. That would make my skin crawl. I'd end up kicking his ass." As someone who really enjoyed eating corn pops in his jammies, I felt deeply insulted by this. But I let it go. Different strokes for different folks, am I right? I said, "Yeah, of course you would. You're basically She-Hulk with a bad attitude. Anyway, I'm supposed to ask you something. Do you remember that night in Casablanca?" "Our first date," Esmeralda murmured. and she smiled to herself. We took a stroll through the market in the old Medina, and I beat up a pickpocket. Sever beat up his lookout. God, sometimes I miss being young. The intercom clicked to life, and Sever's raspy voice announced, "Operations concluded." Looked over at Esmeralda and muttered, "Damn, that was fast. These guys don't fuck around." Rachel made a beeline over to us, script in hand like a shield, and she demanded, "What was that about? What operation? Is this going to affect the shoot? Because I need to know if there's going to be a delay." Esmeralda glared at her, and Rachel's tirade abruptly cut off mid-sentence. She pointed at Rachel's shirt and growled, "If you're in such a hurry, why are you covered in leprechaun crumbs? The operation in question has been concluded, and that's all you need to know. Keep filming or don't. It's your choice. I'll get paid for the entire shift either way." Rachel huffed. "I've never been treated in this manner," and she stomped back to her crew with an expression of outrage. She clapped her hands together and called out, "Okay, people, that's a wrap for tonight. I think we got what we needed here." The script supervisor regarded her with a look of dismay, and she started to raise her hand. Rachel snapped, "I don't want to hear it. I'll talk to Nick tomorrow. Let's just pack up." A few minutes later, Dara came bustling out of his little house with a fresh tray of magical treats in hand. He looked around with a confused expression and asked, "Why is everybody leaving? The night's still young. Don't you need to take some more pictures for your movie? Surely you can't already be finished with me." Rachel glanced in his direction, her face blank and disinterested. She turned away and said, "We have what we need, Mr. O'Shaughnessy. Thank you for your cooperation." They all paid minimal attention to the leprechaun as he wandered around with his tray, trying in vain to engage them in conversation. He waved goodbye as the last of them trooped into the service tunnel, and then Esmeralda shut the door. He kept waving for a moment, and then his arm slowly wilted to dangle at his side. Just like that, he was alone again. I couldn't see the leprechaun's face from where I was standing, but the slumping of his shoulders gave me a dull ache in my heart. I called out, "Hey, I'm still here. Those things smell real good. Can I have one?" He whirled around and snarled, "You can shut your mouth, that's what you can do. Look at the mess they left behind, ignorant bastards. Who's going to tie to this disaster? Look, they've left dirty teacups, spoons all over me habitat, half-eaten scone here, some forgotten bric-a-brac over there, bits of paper all over the damn ground. Sweet serenity. Where are these people raised by wild dogs?" I patted his shoulder and said, "It's my job to clean up the habitat. I mean, my regular job, not this ambassador bullshit. I'll do it." Dar shouted, "Of course you will, you wee gobshite." He dropped the tray onto the ground, pastries tumbling everywhere. He stomped one beneath his foot, then he kicked it across the room. He muttered, "Interrupt my slumber, will they? Take what they want from me and leave. Well, they didn't take me gold, did they? Nay, not one scrap of gold, straight a damnation with the whole wealth and whiskey are all you need in life. Everything else is rubbish." I reached up and plucked a leaf from the oak tree beside us. I handed it to him without a word. He gave me a puzzled look and said, "A leaf? What am I supposed to do with this?" "Look at how shiny it is," I answered quietly. "So balanced and symmetrical, it's a wonder all on its own, right? Wealth is everywhere, but if you think about it, treasure's fine, but that leaf, it's perfect." Darrow frowned at me as he shook his head. "You must be daft. Can't trade a leaf for a strong horse or a wheel of cheese. No, a leaf's worthless. It's nothing." I gave him a sad smile and replied, "Leaf's everything." You probably would have agreed with me once upon a time. Well, it's over. Why don't you head back to bed? Still catch a few hours of sleep before dawn. Shit, zoo doesn't even open till 9. Maybe you should sleep in for a change. What do you think? He looked like he was about to hit me with a foul-tempered zinger, but instead, he tucked the leaf in his pocket and grudgingly said, "Suppose even a half-wit like you can speak the truth every now and then. I'm off to bed. Make sure you have this unsightly clutter picked up before you go." Dara walked back over to the mound of earth he called home, his shoulders still drooping in a dejected manner. He turned around and called out, "A pleasant eve to you, Billy Whitebread. And thank you." I gaped at him in surprise. Until that instant, I wasn't sure if the leprechaun knew how to thank someone, but there it was. He tipped his hat to me, and then he was gone. I looked around the habitat and murmured, "They did kind of leave a mess, didn't they? I'll get it cleaned up, Dara. Sleep tight." After I was done, I tossed the trash bag into the incinerator chute, and I started for the exit. As I was walking, I noticed something was weighing heavily on the breast pocket of my Kevlar suit. I stuck my finger inside and found two completely unexpected objects. One was a scrap of paper with a brief note, scrawled with an inkwell and a feather. It said, "Please accept this sum as fair compensation for a task well completed. Yours in good fellowship, Dara O'Shaughnessy." The other object was a circular chunk of gold. There was a bird of some kind stamped on one side, and the profile of a Roman emperor on the other. I was speechless. My only coherent thought was, holy fucking shit. I tucked it away and made a mental note to get it examined by someone who would know its worth. I found Esmeralda standing by herself in the lobby. She was looking at the statue of the Hydra again. I asked, "Where's the film crew?" And she pointed in the direction of Victor's lounge. "Sitting around, patting themselves on the back for being a bunch of dickheads," she muttered. "The guys from the field crew were already gone before we exited the tunnel. A bunch of cleaners just showed up a couple minutes ago. They've got their work cut out for them." I grimaced and said, "What a horrible fucking job." "No, thank you." She nodded at the statue and replied, "Could always be worse. Hey, do you know this thing's real? Yeah, there's an actual Hydra trapped in there." I gave her a skeptical look. "There's no way that's true. Why would Victor release it and put it on display? That would be a huge attraction for sure." She gave me a cryptic look and said, "Some things should never see the light." "Anyway, I know what you're thinking, and yes, I'm going to see him. He left behind a scrap of paper with an address on it. A hotel, I assume." I gasped. "Oh shit? Yeah? I was supposed to tell you that. I think it was called the Raven Court Hotel. Sorry, yeah, I forgot." "Yeah, you would forget, wouldn't you?" she mused. "In case you thought something has changed, it hasn't. I still don't like you." "What a shocking development," I shot back sarcastically. "And that's totally fine. You don't have to like me. Just give me some respect. That's all I ask." "And why should I do that?" she retorted. "Give me one good reason." I looked her in the eye and I said, "Because I'm Billy fucking Whitebread. And don't you forget it." I left her there to gaze at the statue and think her thoughts, whatever they might be. I honestly didn't care. I already had enough to worry about, complications in my life. There wasn't any room for more of them. Vic showed up in the morning with, you guessed it, several boxes of coffee mugs. He somehow managed to get them all embossed with the name of the zoo. He handed them out to everyone with a big grin on his face and said, "Sorry for the delay, folks. Don't worry, I'm going to get you some t-shirts next. Free shirts, everyone. How's that sound? There you go, Billy. Have one too. On the house." I looked around to make sure none of the film crew were in earshot, and I asked about the fate of the doppelganger. Vic boomed. "The boys are going to have a little chat with it today, see what it knows, what it doesn't know, if you know what I mean." In a quieter tone, he said to me, "Hey, good job last night, kid." And he stuffed a small wad of money into my coffee mug. "You did everything right. You made me proud." I felt a rush of shameful pride in my heart, and as much as I hated it, I couldn't stop it from happening. A part of me hated Vic, but I also really liked him at the same time. He was a saint and a devil, a psycho and a savior, all rolled into one gloriously complicated individual. Even now, years after, I still get a faint glow in my chest when I think about him. I don't understand how you can hate someone and still think of them fondly, but I don't really understand much of anything, to tell you the truth. All I know for sure is that life is complicated. And then you die. I worked up the courage to have the coin appraised by a professional a few days later. He determined it was something called an aureus, a gold coin that was in circulation during the reign of the Roman emperor. To be more exact, it was minted during the rule of Emperor Septimius Severus. The expert demanded to know how such a marvelous find ever came into my possession. I showed him my gun, which I always carried whenever I wasn't at the zoo, and I told him that it was none of his concern. Probably not a smart move, but I suppose being around Vic all the time was starting to rub off on me a bit. Maybe that isn't such a bad thing either. Maybe we all need a little Victor Bonicelli in our hearts as a survival tool. And who's to say, really? The appraiser immediately stopped pressing me for details, and he gave me the coin back without another word. Victor was a villain, for sure, but you have to admit, his methods always got results. The next week I managed to find some time to visit the leprechaun's habitat and thank him for the gift. Dara surprised the hell out of me, invited me into his house to see his vast collection of Roman currency, and as I sat there in a tiny chair and listened to him talk about his coins, my wandering eye spotted something that made my breath hitch in my chest. It was the oak leaf. The leprechaun had pressed it behind glass, and he mounted it on the wall of his kitchen. I felt my eyes mist over, and my lips curve into a big, goofy grin. Dara noticed I was staring at it, and he said, "Aye, 'tis a good leaf. Perhaps the finest leaf I've ever seen. It's quite a treasure, isn't it?" I nodded in agreement, and I jokingly asked, "Where'd you ever find such a nice leaf?" "It was a gift by a good friend," he softly replied. "Good friend is quite a treasure. Perhaps the finest treasure of them all. They're very rare. Only the universe can bestow such a blessing." I suddenly had a huge lump in my throat. Dara patted my hand, and he gently said, "I think I had enough company for today, me boyo. I'm not accustomed to it, not just yet. Small doses and all that, correct? Be off with you. Take care." He came to wave goodbye as I was leaving, and I waved back. He beamed at me and waved again as I closed the door. I felt another swell of pride rising in my chest, but it was different from the response to Vic's blustering praise. It felt pure. The job really sucked in a lot of ways, but it had its perks too. I mean, not many people could say that they had a Russian mercenary, a Navajo skinwalker, and an honest-to-God leprechaun as close personal friends. And even if they could say that, well, they aren't belly fucking white bread, are they? That honor will be my own personal treasure. Mine and mine alone. Until the end of days. Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta. I just want to say thank you guys for watching tonight's video, listening to tonight's episode of the podcast. Also, I want to give a huge thank you to everybody on this list of Patreons. If you'd like to join this list of names that I frequently mispronounce, you can check the description in the link down below, which I really appreciate because this helps me, one, keep the lights on, and two, helps me pay authors for the stories that you hear on this channel. Also, I want to give a huge thank you to everybody on this list of Patreons. Some of these amazing folks are Kraus, AcidSystem, Blake Rattler, Brandon Mendoza, Brenna, Caltuna, ChicagoHitman, CoryxKenshin, CrusaderChocobo, Dakota Best, Daniel Poulsen, Dante Kinkade, Enchanted Buns, Estebean, Hades Nephew, Himbo Jerry, Our Minute Seconds Time, Ingegerd Solstrom, Jay Kearns, Jadis Pet, McMrog, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Psychomel, Plant Piz, Red Shadow Cat, Remember the Sun, Salty Surprise, Samara Lynn, Seclude, Simba's Bloody Mojo, Sky Harbor, Smiley the Psychotic, Sully Man, Tolly Sue, Team Leo 76, The Demented Voice in Your Head, The Chavez Brothers, The Ginger Bros, Tommy Walters, Viceroy Scorn, William Wellington, Your Bro Keegan, Zabub, and Shadow Gardens. A huge thank you to you guys, everybody who shows up in the description down below, and honestly, anybody who can pledge even just like $1 a month. You guys are absolutely amazing. I cannot continue doing this channel without you, and your support means the world to me. And that goes to everybody, not just on Patreon, but honestly just you guys out there who just subscribe, those guys out there who are just listening or putting on the nonstop radio live stream while it's running in their sleep. I appreciate you guys greatly, especially during this kind of rough time for me. Having you guys around, and I mean this wholeheartedly, it is incredible. So, hey, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being a part of this. And as always, folks, sweet dreams.